Hey, everybody, and welcome back to There Are Four Lights. I'm Matt, and I'm here live at the Blue Box in Elgin, Illinois for the podcast marathon for Southgate Media Group. It's a fantastic little place here. Today, there we are. Today, I'm kind of all alone, but that's okay because we're going to talk about something not Star Trek on our Star Trek show because that's really helpful. We're going to talk about Orville, which is probably more Star Trek than anything else that's out right now. And if you disagree with me, we'll tell you why I think you're wrong. But, so Orville is currently showing on Fox, I guess. I don't know. I watch it on Hulu because I don't have actual TV. So it follows the story of the Orville, captained by a wonderful cast, including Seth MacFarlane, who's also the producer and probably the writer. I'm pretty sure he's the writer. He is Captain Ed Mercer. And then we got Adrian Palicki as Commander Kelly Grayson, and then a smattering of other cast members who are fantastic. This is billed by Fox as a drama. I don't know that that's actually the case. I think it's more of a comedy drama thing. But we have been watching it for 4 of the last 5 episodes. We missed the last one that just released. So far, it's been really, really good. So the concept is that the Orville needs a captain, and they find Ed, and he's a member of their Starfleet. It's not Starfleet, it's the Union. So he's a member of the Union, he's part of their crew, and they offer him the ship. And it's kind of a weird, it's clear that he's not their first choice, but he's their only option. And it kind of starts from there, showing that this isn't going to be the Enterprise or Deep Space Nine where we have the best of the best doing the best of the things. This is going to be a crew that is very different and very unique and independent and doesn't always do what's right, but does something that works. We get introduced to the entire bridge crew. It's actually, the first episode I've heard complaints, but I think that it is very solid in what it does and how it does it. It's definitely trying to do a lot, but I don't think that it does anything terribly wrong. We do find out that Ed is divorced, and his first officer is his ex-wife. So that makes it very awkward, and there's a lot of interplay between the two of them throughout the first 4 episodes, and it comes up quite often. But unlike Star Trek, where we see a lot of, a lot of moments that build character because they're intense and dramatic, these are more realistic and seem less dramatized. So we get a lot of, so what happened between you and Ed, and they just don't want to talk about it, or they don't want to discuss it, or they don't go into the full details of it. And overall, though, it's, I think, pretty solid for what it does. There are parts of it that are not my favorite, but I think it grabs the basic concepts of what Star Trek is, the hope and the vision for the future, and a crew that may not be in sync when they first start out, but they get there, and we get to see that where people's individualities are celebrated or just accepted instead of ridiculed or looked at differently, or broad strokes are made about race that are very un-Star Trek. We've also been watching Discovery, which if you've been listening to our last couple episodes, if you haven't, you should go back. We've got 2 episodes up about the last 3 episodes of Discovery, and another one will be coming out Monday. If you're watching this live, it'll probably be in the past if you're not, but that's okay. Discovery is doing a lot of things different from what normal Star Trek does, and this seems to be fitting into that role of what we expect out of the themes and ideals of Star Trek a little bit better. So, as I said, the first episode is kind of the pilot, and it gets them started. The crew is already assembled except for the first officer and the captain. It's made very clear at the end of the first episode that the only reason that Ed is captain of the ship is because his ex-wife pushed the Admiralty to put him in that position. So it sets up this dynamic that Ed isn't aware of, and it begins to show a softer, regretful side of Adrian Palicki's character. as we start into the season. Every episode so far, other than the first one, has dealt with some sort of issue. It's very one and done, but there do seem to be threads that play through the series, which connect it very easily and do what you would want out of it. Overall, they're trying to handle social situations. We're introduced to villains that are reminiscent of some stuff that we got out of Star Trek Beyond visually. But we haven't really delved into their what exactly they are and what they do much. It's just that they're an evil race of vileness, and that's kind of the whole deal that they do. So the one of the first things that they do tackle in the third episode is a all-male gendered species. They have a baby and what they have to do with that. And I've heard some criticism that it's a little ham-fisted and a little rough. Honestly, I think that as far as it goes, considering this is not, I'm not expecting like a good Star Trek: The Next Generation episode or a good Deep Space Nine episode out of this. So when they don't get it quite right, I'm not as disappointed as I would be out of a full Star Trek show. So it makes it a little bit easier when things are a little ham-fisted or are a little less explored than they could be, or are a little broader in strokes than they could be, because they're not. It's not Star Trek the Orville. It's just the Orville, and that's what we have. So it makes it easier for me to swallow some of the blinding problems, I guess others would say. But the male species that has the baby that they deal with in episode 3. It turns out that they're not all male, that occasionally females are born as well, and they just do a gender reassignment, and they deal with that issue by attempting to explain to the people and show them that women are just as capable as men, and in the end they fail, and the baby is reassigned as a male. And so, unlike Star Trek, where I feel like, we may not win every time, but there's always a good outcome. This doesn't give us a good outcome. This doesn't give us what we want. And we get to see how this world is flawed, whereas Star Trek is hope, and the flaws only come in later when we can look at that hope and take a deconstructed look at it, like we do in Deep Space Nine. So it allows us to really understand that this world is where it's at, because of the time that has already come past before this, and that nobody is perfect here. Definitely the captain is not perfect. The first officer isn't perfect. There's a lot of there's some crude humor. It's not bad, but it's definitely not. It's not what you would expect from a full Star Trek show. In the fourth episode, they found a bioship that had been kind of just floating and was going to eventually run into a star, and they go and investigate it. It's a very different, interesting look at what Star Trek did a lot of. They'd find something weird, they'd go look at it, find out what's going on, and then try and fix it. It was pretty standard. I liked it a lot. The ship was beautiful. The set designs are great. That is one thing I will say for the Orville, is that they don't. It doesn't feel like a second-rate show. When Battlestar Galactica, when Babylon 5 came out, there were some questionable choices in CGI, and not everything looked as smooth as it could, and it was clear that they didn't have the budget that they wanted for some things. That's not the case here in the Orville. They are clearly putting money behind this. The ship designs are different and unique, and they look sleek and really cool, and they don't rely on a Star Trek model to remind us that we're in space. So that's very helpful as well. Really have enjoyed the design of the ship. It has stairs in it, which, that's interesting and weird. People get hurt. There's a lot of interplay between the crew. We get to know people a little bit. And as we go into episode 4, we get to watch the dedication that the crew has to each other and to the Union, and what that means for them. So it is very interesting to watch the progression of that. And then it's also interesting to hear someone in episode 3, the first officer, played by Adrian Palicki, is called to defend the wish to not reassign the baby, and it's very clear that she doesn't have training in law or in law proceedings, and she makes it very clear, and they still push forward with it. It's the main character, one of the main characters. That's what you want, but it is very clear that she's not the best option for it, but she's going to do her best in that role. Whereas it, in a lot of ways, it felt very similar to when Data was put on trial, or when there was a trial for Data and his ability to make his own decisions. And Riker and Picard both were top-notch lawyers all of a sudden. And while that episode is one of the best of The Next Generation, it portrays, once again, a world that is very, very perfect. And again, in the Orville, we get a world that is very not perfect. And in its imperfection, though, it allows us to see kind of a broader range, and allows us, I don't know, it allows us to get into a position where we can enjoy the world and the ship and the crew without having to worry about everything ending up exactly the way it should. So it is kind of nice. So in episode 4, we end up with this bioship. A little rambly. I'm used to having a co-host. It's not normally like this. We end up on this bioship where we get to see this civilization that has developed over the last 100 or our last dozen generations, because they don't know that they're on a ship any longer. And there's a lot of talk about religion, and the religious group has taken over the ship, or has taken over the biome, and are running it very strict theocracy. We get to see a lot of that interplay there. The crew ends up having to rescue the first officer. She gets captured after the security officer gets shot, and we get to watch them deal with rescuing her and dealing with the religion and dealing with the ship as it is, while still maintaining a separation, because they're the Union and they can only do so much. But in the end, we get to see them correct the situation, which is what we would expect out of Star Trek. Again, as much as this show is not Star Trek, I really feel like it embodies a lot of what Star Trek is, and it gets it pretty right for what it's doing. And it doesn't rely on being perfect all the time to make sure it's right. So it's very comforting. It has a comfort feel to it that it's Star Trek enough, but it doesn't have to be exactly what that was or that is. In comparison to what we're seeing right now out of Discovery, I know that our regular listeners have heard me go on and on about Discovery and my issues with it, but what we're seeing here is standard stuff. Whereas Discovery, we're seeing a take on a lot of things that is not what we are used to or what we are expecting. It's very dissonant to see a show that isn't Star Trek get Star Trek so much closer than what the Star Trek show that's currently coming out is doing. We see a lot of diversity on this ship. So there are 7 main characters, and 3 of them are aliens. One's an android from a race that believes that they're better than everybody else, but they're serving because they have to understand other people. And his name is Isaac. That's his only name because he's a robot. I guess robots don't get last names. And then we get a security officer who is a female of a species that's super strong from a planet that has high density gravity. But she's very young. And so there's some interplay between the second episode where she has to take command of the ship and doesn't know what to do and how to do it. And we get to watch her grow into that. As the captain and first officer are taken to a zoo as display pieces, which was very interesting. And they come up with a unique solution to that, so that was great too, while poking fun at reality TV, which I thought was phenomenal. And then we give Bortus, who's one of the members of the all-male species, and we get to see him. He's very stoic, and there's a lot of tropes in each of these three aliens, but they're played up and allowed to breathe in what they are instead of just making them one thing and then that's it. So even though Bortus is very stoic, it's very clear in episode 4 that he has an emotional range. He just doesn't show it the same way everybody else does. So we don't get someone like Spock who doesn't show emotions at all, except for those rare occasions when he does. We get someone who doesn't show emotions the same way that we would expect them. And when he does show emotions, it makes it even more important to that character's development. And then we've got a smattering of humans. The pilot is kind of a screw up, but clearly the best at what he does. And he and the navigator have a nice little bromance developing, which is great to see. We get to watch that develop. And then we have a doctor who is very much a veteran and is there because she thinks that the Orville's going to need her, and the captain specifically is going to need her to help him understand how to run the ship. And while that hasn't come up too much yet, in the second episode, she does help the security officer learn how to run the ship in an efficient manner and to get done what she needs done. So it's good to see an established officer come on the ship helping develop younger officers. Overall, honestly, the design, the set design, the concepts, the visuals, all of it is it's really working for me. I'm enjoying it every week. Like I said, we watch it on Hulu. I know it's on Fox, I think on Thursdays. I'm almost positive it's Thursdays. And it's available on Hulu if you can get to Hulu. So I definitely suggest checking that out. While we're here, we'll do a quick update. So we are going to continue with Discovery every Monday night, or releasing every Monday. We record them Sunday night. Depends on how quickly I can get them edited and checked and all the issues we have worked out to get it up. So usually it'll go up Sunday night or Monday. So you're going to see that through at least the break that we're going to see in November with Discovery. This is our first time doing a show as it's coming out, so we're learning the quirks as we go. Discovery, if and when it comes back, because I have a lot of opinions about that, we will continue to follow at least the first season. If it doesn't come back, we'll probably do one last episode about Discovery after the break and discuss what's going on and what we felt about it. However, with the way that CBS is so hard pushing and driving deeper into the muck with this show, I have a feeling it's going to come back, even if it just finishes out one season, then we're done. So I would expect that to continue. Sometime near the end of October, we're going to get back to our regular There Are Four Lights shows. That may end up meaning that we are putting out a Discovery episode on Sunday or Monday, and then There Are Four Lights again on Thursday. Just be prepared for that. I just want to make sure that everybody's aware. We do want to finish up the first season of TOS. It's going to happen. It's just been scheduling and issues, and you've been listening at home, so you understand what we've been going through. Overall, though, we're really excited about Star Trek as a whole. We're really looking forward to seeing what else they can do. If you have a chance to check out our Facebook page, we do updates there. We're a lot more active on Twitter, and I highly suggest being there. So don't forget to check out Twitter at Nerds Domain on Twitter. It's hard to remember what our things are sometimes. So while we're here, I'm going to talk a little about the Blue Box, because the Blue Box is a fantastic cafe in Elgin. It's very much Doctor Who themed. And when I say Doctor Who themed, I mean like the art on the walls and all of the cups, and there's stuff for sale. Blue Box is great. If you have a chance to make it out here, if you're anywhere near Chicago, it's fully worth the trip out to Elgin. It's right downtown. I love the location. And the food here is great. I don't drink coffee, but I hear the coffee is great. So I assume that's the case. But definitely the Blue Box is something worth checking out, and I would highly recommend it. I'm used to having a co-host, so I don't do well with the half an hour slot by myself. Kinda. Rob, what did you think about the Orville? You've been watching that? I'm gonna pull Rob in and make him talk. Oh, James, come on up.
James would be better than me because I haven't watched it. I watched the first 10 minutes.
Oh.
Heard a couple of Family Guy jokes, and I was out. But I will watch it. So here we go.
Hey.
Hey, this is James Wilder.
That's me.
He's a writer and a podcaster. And he does great stuff. And you're
thanks.
from Indianapolis too, right?
Yeah, I live there now.
So what do you think about Orville?
I really like it. I like what it's trying to do, I think, more than its execution.
Okay.
Like, I thought the third episode, I kind of described, and I've heard other people describe it similar ways, as it aimed for the fences and dropped the ball on the plate.
Sure.
But I like that it tried to do what it tried to do.
Right.
Like, I like that it is trying to do really optimistic sci-fi in a way that I haven't seen in a long time, even though it doesn't always work, and I think sometimes the humor doesn't land, and yet at the same time I care more about these people and what they're trying to do than I have for a lot of shows.
Right. And we haven't seen truly optimistic sci-fi since like Enterprise, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's 2005. I mean, we've got a decade here that we've got sci-fi out there, but it's all dystopic. I mean, we ran into this weird dystopic downturn, which I like dystopic stories as much as this guy. But so what do you have you watched Discovery?
Yeah, I've watched Discovery so far. I mean,
so of Discovery and Orville, which one do you think is more Star Trek?
I mean,
Tough, isn't it?
yeah, it's tough because like it's weird in that I think Discovery is a much better made show.
Okay.
But I enjoy watching Orville more, even though I recognize objectively Discovery is better in like every aspect of how it's made, and yet I'm having more fun watching Orville.
Well, Discovery's their scripts are tight.
Yeah,
They're very tight.
As a writer, it's really impressive how much they managed to fit lots of tiny bits of information all into different interactions and scenes.
And I will admit, the Orville does feel like Seth MacFarlane is going, hey, you know what would be funny is if we said this. Let's try and figure out how to work that in. Which I understand the issues with the Family Guy jokes. I don't see them nearly as much.
Yeah.
But I quit watching Family Guy after like season 2 because it was overwhelming. It was just too much all the time.
Yeah.
This I feel like there's a smattering here and it's not nearly as bad. And I really appreciate what they're doing with the show now.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I feel like the humor, it's not there enough that if you want to ignore it, you can.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do like that they come off as normal people who like to have a beer.
Yeah.
And they're not so like there's other than Bortus and maybe Isaac, there's nobody with a stick stuck way up them that they're so rigid they can't be just a person. As much as I love Star Trek, like no one is flawed there, and if they're flawed, it comes from a very deep hurt that like Ensign Rowe, like she had reason to be flawed, but like these people are flawed just because they're people. Like they don't aspire to be these perfect things, and then I once watched my entire race get almost wiped out, so now I'm a very bitter person. Like Ed Mercer, his wife cheated on him and left him. Like, of course he's hurt, but like he still is mostly a functioning human being. Well, mostly,
yeah,
enough to sort of captain a ship. So you're enjoying the Orville though?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Excellent.
It's been good time so far for what it is. I'm really hoping it gets a second season because I feel like this first season is probably going to be imperfect all the way through in the same ways because it's already like they've made most of it.
Right.
But I feel like if they get a second season, we'll have a chance to really refine what they're doing.
Well, that's what they did that's what they do with every Star Trek.
Yeah.
They take that first season, they're like, this is what we think the show should be, and they get to the end of the season, they're like, we need to tweak some stuff to make it just a little bit better. And every second Next Generation had some issues with second season.
But the third season.
But it also had like the second season also has two of the best episodes. The one where Data is put on trial.
Yes.
And the one with Moriarty.
Yeah, and
they're both there, and they're solid. They're some of the best.
And I blame that more on the writer's strike than anything else.
And then Pulaski. Everything's Pulaski's fault. Everything.
Oh.
No. The Dominion come and attack us. All Dr. Pulaski. I guarantee it. I really don't like Dr. Pulaski.
My gosh. We're going to have to fight.
Well, I think I think that's going to have to do us because I'm going to stay on time. Yep. See, Rob, look at that.
And I have a show now. Yeah.
So I'm going to play our exit.
That will do it tonight for us on
Four Lights. Remember, you can
I keep
email us
prepared,
at
sort of,
nerddomain@gmail.com or find us on Facebook and Twitter at facebook.com/nerddomain and twitter.com/nerddomain. And don't
I talked to
forget,
Chris, I know you said you'll be better.
be sure to sign up for the
I know.
newsletter while
I think
you're
I should
there.
be fine, because I
You
didn't
can
sure
head
it was
over
going
to
to play
iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. We want to thank 5 Year Mission for our awesome music. You can find them over at 5yearmission.net. Don't forget, you can support us at patreon.com/nerddomain and check out our t-shirts at tpublic.com/user/.
And I've got a
Have a great night.
writer coming out for that.
Let's hear it for Matt one more time. Nice job, Matt.